Hello, welcome back. This is James Uriel from UX Shape. Today we're going to look at our mobile digital prototyping course in Ajax 7 that we've been introducing for some couple of months now. And today we're going to focus on developing a simple e-commerce website, e-commerce mobile app application for the purpose of this course. So what you're going to need to start this course, you're going to need Ajax 7, and also you're going to need access to some images. But throughout this video series, I'm going to upload some files and some images that will be used during this course, so you get to understand how everything is being done and what you can use to make your prototype look appealing to the user. So let's get started and let's look at the content of this course. What we need to look at the content of this course, and like I said, we're going to be prototyping for a mobile application. So what we're going to focus our attention on in each of these series, I'm going to break it down in different series. I'm not going to record a long tutorial, so I'm going to break it down in different series, and we're going to look at different sections of what is going to make up our mobile app. A typical mobile app, it's comprised of different screens, and you're going to have things like the splash screen, the onboarding, the login screen, the sign up screen. You're going to have the home screen, the profile page. You have a feedback pop-up screen. You're going to have a logout pop-up, and we're going to have a settings page. Also, we're going to look at creating our product department, our product category, our subcategory, our product, and also our product detail page. And we're going to check out adding item to our basket, and also checking out making payment by card, and we're going to do that. So this prototype series is going to cover every aspect of a simple mobile app for an e-commerce website. So if you have an idea and you want to build an application for your customer to shop on your website, this is a great tutorial for you to watch. So let's get started. I've already opened Ajax 7 and I've already saved my file. I've done what I need to do. The first thing we need to do before we start prototyping at all, we need to think about, okay, what device are we going to test our mobile prototype on? For this purpose of the tutorial, I'm using Samsung Galaxy Note 4, and I'm going to be testing my mobile prototype on that device. If you are using any phone that is different from the one I'm using to test, you don't need to worry. You can still use this prototype as a guide, and you can still design for the device that you have or that your user is going to test your prototype with. So what we need to do first, we need to determine the screen size of what we're going to be building, how we're going to lay out our page and screens. And now in this tutorial, I'll be making use of pages and screens at the same time, but bear in mind that they all mean the same thing when I'm talking about mobile prototyping. So what we need to do is we need to go to Google and try and see if we can get the exact screen size of our image. And there's this website that I've just come across, which is mydevice.io/devices. So what we need to do here, when we come here, this website has the current size, the current physical size, and the current CSS size, the width and the height of what each of these devices is going to be. So when you are designing for maybe iPhone 7, we're going to be using this size, which is 375 width and 667 height. So what we're going to be using for my own device, I'm using Samsung Galaxy Note 4. So if you come on this page, look for your device, and you can use this size. Note that the size you're going to be using will be the CSS size, not the physical size. So what I will be using is the CSS size, which is for Samsung Galaxy Note 4, and it's 360 by 640. So we go to Ajax and we drop a rectangle widget onto our page. Now we change the x-axis to 0, and we change this to 340 to 640. Now, once we've done that, let's just confirm if we get the right size correct. 340 by 640. No, 360 by 640. So we have our size, and everything is based on what we're going to use our mobile prototype for. This is going to be the layout. Another thing we're going to now do is we're going to make sure that the page align, because we want to preview this design on a physical device. What we're going to do, we're going to make this a browser only, and we're going to align it at the center, and we're going to align the horizontal center and vertical middle as well. So we have everything. When we preview this page, we're going to see it at the center of our screen. The other thing we need to do is we need to make sure that we set our mobile view tag point. So first thing we need to do is we need to generate our HTML. So we go to publish and we go to generate HTML files. Once we go to generate HTML files, we go to mobile and device, and we'll say include view tag point. What we need to now set is we need to set the initial scale, which has been set for us as 1.0, and I usually just set this as 1.0 as well, and everything as 1.0, and I set I can either set the prevent vertical page scrolling, or I just leave it like that. Depending on your requirement, you can leave it. Also, for the home screen, it's recommended that you have something, but for the purpose of this tutorial, if we don't have an icon for our home screen, then we don't need to put it. We can just leave it as it is for now. So what we need to do is to what we need to do is to have this device width as well, and change it to device height, so that we are working specifically and prototyping for this Samsung Galaxy Note 4. So what we need to do is to generate our prototype, and you can see the browser loads, and we can see that our rectangle widget is here. So what we need to do next is we need to go back to Azure, and we need to look at our page again. Now, because we are developing for a mobile prototype, we're going to want to set our layout properly and make sure that everything we'll do is really very intact, very clean, and very so that the user can see our work properly. So what we need to do is we need to go to the page style, and we need to go to the back color, and we need to slightly make the color darker, because the prototype we're going to be using is going to be a white, majority of the color will be white, so we want to see it clearly so that we know what the background of the page is, and also what the actual mobile prototype is. So I'm just going to make this a little bit dark, and what I will do is to make sure that we don't have border. Now we've done this, another thing you might want to do, so that you can have a lot of view on your work area and what you are and the design you're working on, we might want to have a zoom and make it 150, so that we have this big view of our work, and we can actually see what we are doing. The next thing we're going to look at, again, we're going to look at the pages, how our site map will be set up. But Azure already gives us a default home page. So what we're going to do, we're going to rename this home to splash screen, because the first thing on our course is to design the splash screen, and that will be so. What we need to do next is we need to go to home and click it once, or we can right click and say rename, and then we're going to say splash screen. Once we've done splash screen, we can get rid of all these pages, because we're going to recreate other pages as well. So we have only one page, and we click save. Now we have our page set up. We've set up our view tag. If we preview the prototype again, we close this one, and we can preview the prototype here. I'll just copy this link and take it back to Chrome. For some reason, I prefer to preview my work in Chrome, and also we can just increase the zoom in Chrome a little bit so we can actually see what what our design is going to look like. Now what we need to do next is we need to go back to Axial and we need to say, okay, as a splash screen, what is the requirement to develop a splash screen? A splash screen usually will have two things. It will have a logo and also it will have a loading icon, which is going to show that the page is loading, and that is very important in building a prototype. So that is what we're going to do, and what I'll do is to drag an icon here. This is an image, but in this prototype we're going to be making use of an image and also a placeholder. So what I would do for the purpose of this tutorial is to have a placeholder for the logo, for our logo, and we're going to say, or we can just have a text and say my actual shop. So we have this name and we've named it my actual shop. Another thing we want to look at is how we can get a good font for our text, and I've downloaded this font which is called Droid Sans, and I think it's good. We're just gonna make it a little bit darker and we're going to increase this a bit. So what we need to do, we need to align this. We go here and click the middle part and we align it center. And what we need to do is to make sure that this text fits directly at the center of the page. So what we're going to do is to adjust it. We select the rectangle shape that we've created and we select the text. Then we go to this alignment and we select this align center, and we go to this alignment and we say align middle. So what we have is directly at the middle of the screen, and that is going to be our splash screen design coming to shape. The next thing we will want to do is to put a loading section on it, and we're going to have a jQuery widget put in here. So I'm just going to look for this link again for the jQuery thing. What we need to do, we need to go to this website called Ajax Loader, and we have this page here. So what we can do is to select the type of loader that we want, and we can see here they have different types of loader, and we can come back and say, okay, what type of loader do we want to use? I think I'm gonna choose this one because it looks current, and what we can do is to maybe leave it as the back color as white, and we can change the fore color depending on our requirement, but I will not focus on making color changes now to our prototype. What we're going to develop a black and white prototype, and then we can decide on the color scheme that we want to choose later. So I'll click generate here, and we just wait for the application to generate it, and then we click download. Once we download it, it is better to save it inside our mobile prototype course folder, and then we go back to Actual. Once we go back to Actual, we drag an image widget and we put it inside the page. Normally it's better to put it at the bottom here so that we know it's loading, and then we can go to desktop, go to mobile prototyping course, and get our image. Notice one thing: once we put it there, it will say adjust, and we can see that we have our splash screen almost ready. So what we need to do is to preview this splash screen now on our browser. We reload, and we see that we have our splash screen loading, and this Ajax is simulating that the page is loading for us as well. And we have this icon as well. Everything is working perfectly well. Although I don't like this icon, and I might have to change it to Marvin Pro icon, because I love this icon better than the one I use. But of course, you can use any icon depending on what your mobile prototype is all about, or what you want to achieve with it. I might change this icon a little bit to 25, and I might just leave it here. So we have this app now, and everything is sorted out. So what we need to do next is to preview our prototype in the browser, and it's loading. So we have our splash screen. So the next thing we would need to do is in our content file, we have the onboarding page or the screen. So what we need to do is we need to go back to the sitemap area, select this file, because we want to maintain the background image and everything, and we want to make it consistent. Select duplicate, and then select page. Now it gives us opportunity to rename it, so we're going to rename that page as onboarding. Once we've renamed it as onboarding, what we need to do, we need to indent this page so that we can make this page go underneath this splash screen. So we indent and say this. The reason why we indent is when we generate a sitemap using these pages, all the indentation will be taken into consideration, and it's going to show us the flow of our page, which page comes first and which page comes second. And that is why we do this indentation. We can always indent it back, but I'll just leave it as this for now. So what we need to do is we need to go back to this zoom and make it 150 as well again. Now we are on the onboarding screen. We're just going to remove this icon that we have here and this logo, and I'm just going to put here, just as a test tutorial right now, we're going to say onboarding screen, and we terminate. We might just have to adjust it a little bit and align it center, and we leave it as that. So what we need to do is we need to make sure that we get an interaction to this page. And the interaction that we're going to have, because the user is not going to interact with this page itself, what we're going to do, we're going to have a page interaction. So what we need to do is to go to this to the bottom here, look for the page interaction, and we can say on page load. We click on page load, and we go to miscellaneous and say wait for 2000 milliseconds. After you've waited for 2000 milliseconds, we want you to open in current window onboarding page, and we click OK. And that is all we need to do. We click save, and we preview our page. Once we preview our page, let's see what happened. We wait for a few seconds, and immediately we'll see our onboarding screen. But notice one thing, that the onboarding page, it's not showing within the sitemap page. The reason is that Actual does not generate these pages on the fly. So we might have to reload this preview using actual, and we need to copy it back. We need to close this and we need to reopen it. And we can see now that once we've reopened it, that page is there. And once we click it, it waits for 2000 milliseconds and this page loads and we are on the onboarding. We finished the first part of this tutorial. I hope you've learned something, and I know you've been able to do this splash screen and how to make that interaction to move from your splash screen to your onboarding screen. On the next tutorial, we will be looking at designing this onboarding screen. What is the purpose of this onboarding screen? Why do we do them? Why does mobile app need to have this onboarding screen? And at the end of the day, we will be able to design this onboarding screen and transition from onboarding screen to the home screen as we have in our content. Or perhaps we go through to the sign up and login option. So in our next tutorial, we're going to be working on the onboarding screen, and stay tuned. Thank you for watching. If you have any comments, don't forget to drop a comment below, and I will see you in the next tutorial. Thank you. Bye.